My name is Peter Dove, author of Master Dressage, and today I thought I'd put together a short video on how to hold a schooling whip, how to change over a schooling whip, how to use one correctly, and also how to choose a good schooling whip too. So first of all, let's look at how to hold a schooling whip. The important thing is really to hold it close to the top of the handle. Make sure that the stick presses very slightly on the area slightly behind your knee. And then what you'll find is the stick end kind of ends up slightly behind your leg, your lower leg. The neat thing about getting the stick in the right place is, first of all, your hands are pretty much in the right place too. And you can see when it goes wrong with people when you see the stick doing this and pointing out behind. And often the riders straighten their arms and kind of jam their knuckles down. Also, if you see a stick sticking out sideways like this, it's because they've got knuckles up and hands down too. So really, the stick should just be just behind the knee, pointing down just where the foot is. Changing a schooling whip correctly is really important because we want to disturb the horse least possible. We want the changeover to be really smooth and not to upset the tempo, impulsion, energy of the horse in any way. Now, I often see riders with schooling whips doing what I call drawing a sword, and they take hold of the whip and they kind of do this kind of thing, and it comes over, and then they gather their reins back up and so on. The right way of changing a schooling whip is you put both reins into the hand with the whip. At the same time, you're kind of bringing the wrist up like this. You reach across, grab, it comes over, and you retake the reins. So again, so like this, and retake the reins. And you might have to push the stick down a little bit afterwards. But that's a sort of really quick way of changing the stick over from one side to the other, like so. Okay? So, using a schooling whip correctly, when you use a schooling whip correctly, you shouldn't have to take your hands off the rein. You don't use a schooling whip like this. That's definitely not the way to go about using it, and it's very unsubtle, and it disturbs the whole thing because you're taking the reins into one hand, bringing one hand out. It really is rather unsubtle and can easily disturb the way the horse moves. So it's important that, like we showed earlier on, that your hands are in the right place, the stick is across the thigh, and essentially what you're doing is you are doing a quick flick of the wrist, bouncing the stick off your thigh, and that causes the end to touch the horse, so like that. And obviously when it touches the horse's side, it takes the energy out the end, so you don't get the sort of little wobble that's happening there. But it is just a little tap like that, and that will create a very precise touch at the end of the stick. So we get on to choosing a schooling whip. Now, this particular whip that I've been using all the time is a Fleck carbon composite. One of the reasons I really love this schooling whip is it is extremely light. It's very well balanced, and that it's a fairly firm stick as well. So there's no massive wobble on the end of it. Where you point it, it goes. So for instance, if I'm using it for groundwork and I'm doing some whip habituation and desensitization, I can point the stick exactly where I want it to go. It doesn't wobble or move around, or anything like that. The other great thing about doing groundwork with this is it's a completely carbon fiber shaft, and it's very smooth. So, if you're doing a lot of groundwork desensitization with the horse, it can kind of pick up grime on the stick, and because it's not a woven fabric covering the length of the stick, it can just be wiped, and it's great again. And the handle of it feels really good too. So the other thing about this whip as well is the energy you put in one end comes out really nicely at the other end, and there isn't a huge amount of wobble with the stick as well. So if you need to do a little bit of tapping, so let's say you're doing a bit of groundwork and you want the horse to move back one leg, and you just give it a little tap on the leg, then you can get a quite rapid little tap going, which with other sticks is really difficult. So I have a an example here of a bear stick, and you'll see the difference in the kind of huge wobble this has. You know, if you're trying to kind of, you know, use it to tap with, it's really bendy, really wobbly, and you know, you look at if you do a comparison of how much energy I'm having to put into the right hand, this stick here, as compared to the left one, you know, having to move an awful lot. So I really recommend these whips. Fleck are an amazing whip designing company, and we've got them available on our shop. I do not use any other whip than this particular one, the Fleck carbon composite. It's the best one I've ever used, and you know, I really recommend you go and grab yourself one from the shop. Thank you very much.